Okay, so our webinar today has got myself on it, and my name is Caris, and I work a lot with supporting schools on how to use MathShed within their schools, as well as do a lot of these webinars. And my colleague Alex is also on here, who's our owner of MathShed, and we'll talk to you at the beginning all about our webinar today, which is on Year 4 MTC Ready, how to build and recall the conceptualisation of times tables within your class for that important Year 4 times table check that we all need to do.
Yeah, I realised that title is a bit of a mouthful, Caris.
Literally, as I was reading it, I was thinking, oh.
So I suppose, I should probably explain it in less pretentious terms. It's just essentially like how to make sure that kids are fast at times tables, but also understand what they're doing when they're using times tables. As much as it's good to have them like drilling through times tables like drones, it is also good that they understand what they're doing so that they can apply it to different areas of maths and use that for division, multiplication, mixed problems, and so on and so forth. So yeah, are we ready to go?
I think so. I was just going to mention that if you've got any questions, you can put these in the Q&A box or the chat box at the bottom. And as Alex is talking, I'll keep an eye on those and answer any questions as we go through.
Nice. Okay, great. So, yes. What is the Year 4 multiplication tables check? So I'm going to go through this quickly because obviously the DFE document is out there and I don't want to be telling grandmother how to suck eggs here. The document's out there, but hopefully I boiled it down if some of you are less familiar. So it's designed to determine whether kids can recall times tables fluently. So they have instant recall of times tables. It's also there to allow schools to figure out if there are any children in their cohorts that need further support on times tables in general or on individual times tables. There isn't a pass or fail on it, unlike the Year 1 phonics screening check, so you don't need to resit it as children sometimes do in Year 2 of their phonics screening check, so that isn't required. And the DFE will report on national attainment, but not report on individual schools. So what is included? Each child gets 3 practice questions to get comfortable with the format. And after that, there are 25 questions that are asked at random, so that every child's check is different to everybody else's. But we have this table here on the right hand of the slide here. It's from DFE that shows the mixture of questions that the kids will have. So the 6, 7, 8, 9, and 12 times tables are more likely to appear, or they appear more often. The 1 times table is omitted, so there are no questions on that. There are also no questions on the 0 times table. So another thing is that questions in reverse order do not get asked. So if a child is asked 7 multiplied by 8, they will not be asked 8 multiplied by 7. So it's only one way or the other, not both ways. When they are asked the questions, they are given 6 seconds to answer each question. And then there's a 3-second pause to give them a mental break before thinking about the next question. A key point here is that, say, for example, a child is trying to answer 12 multiplied by 12. They say they have 1, 4, 14 typed in rather than 144. When the 6-second hits, the test will take that answer as 14 and it will be marked as incorrect. So it's important, as much as this is clearly terrifying for some children, but to ease them into it and to make them aware that that 6-second rule is a hard and fast thing. They can also, if they're confident, press enter before the 6 seconds has elapsed and go through the test more quickly. But altogether, if we think about it, let's say there's 9 seconds per question. There are 25 questions. So that means that this test is going to take about 5 minutes in total. Another point is that it's fully online and answers are inputted using a keypad or an on-screen number pad, either with a mouse if kids are using a desktop or laptop computer, or if they're using an iPad or a LearnPad or another kind of Android tablet or what have you, then they would, use a touchscreen number pad if they wanted, if that's what they're more comfortable with. So that's how that works technologically. Next slide here. So the test takes place during a 3-week testing window in June during the summer term. So I believe this year it's running from the 6th of June through to the 24th, but someone can correct me on that. There is no particular day the test needs to be taken, nor do all the children have to do it at the same time or in the same room. So you could either have them all sit down if you have enough devices to do that and have it all done in one fell swoop, or you could take children individually, sit them down in a quiet room so they have a bit of time and space themselves to do it. That's up to you. All children in year 4 are eligible and expected to take the multiplication tables check, apart from children who are absent during a testing window. Perfect time for mum and dad to take them on a camping trip for 3 weeks, unable to participate even with access arrangement measures in place, yet to meet the expected standard for times tables in year 2. So if they don't know their 2s, 5s and 10s, they don't have to take it. If they're recently arrived EAL pupils, so for example, if you're like many schools, you had a newly arrived Ukrainian refugee who didn't speak English arriving in the next few weeks or recently, they would reasonably not be expected to take it because it's crazy to have a child who can't speak a language come to a new country and immediately be expected to take a maths test. So there's some sense here for once from the DFE. There are other reasons that you can find, and as long as they're submitted to the DFE by your head teacher, those can be accepted by the Standards and Testing Authority to stop children from having to take the test if it's felt that it isn't right for them. So with results, children are not shown the results, so it isn't like they finish and it shows 20 out of 25 or anything like that. Schools can see the results, which will just be a total score for each pupil in the view pupil results section on the Monday following the final Friday of the testing window. And that's only if there's something like that HDF form, which is the head teacher declaration form. So as long as the head teacher has submitted the HDF, the head teacher declaration form, you'll then be able to access this data on that Monday following the final Friday of that 3-week testing period in June. Okay, who is eligible for access arrangements? So children who are eligible, those with an EHCP, those who are SEND and have provision regularly, those who have a significant learning difficulty or disability that prevents them from being able to access the check in its standard form, children who have behavioural, emotional or social difficulties, and children who are EAL with limited fluency in English. So what can be done if that you have children who aren't quite of the level where you don't want them to sit it, but they do need access arrangements. There are various arrangements that the DFE have put in place. That includes colour contrast for, let's say, children with colour blindness or other visual impairments. Font size, similar again, children who have some sort of visual impairment, they might need the font size increase, for example. There'll be an ability to pause the next question to give children a greater break than the 3-second break that is there as standard. You can remove the on-screen number pad and then have children only able to use the keyboard pad on the desktop or laptop computer if they find the keypad there too distracting and too much overload to think, okay, I've got a keypad on my laptop, but I've also got this one here. So if that's overwhelming, you can remove that for them. You can also provide input assistance. So if a child didn't have the necessary dexterity or fine motor skills to input the results themselves, but do know their times tables, they can call them out to a parent, a carer, or even a fellow pupil. And for children with significant visual impairment, there is an audio version as well. So one thing here, which seems a bit of a contradiction, is that it says that there's no additional time. Clearly, we are not in a position definitively as a third-party company, but there is a link on these slides which will be sent out to the DFE's document. So any further questions, I'm sure they will be happy to answer. Okay, so moving on, really, it's a case of, if we want children to be successful at year 4, what's the sort of groundwork that we need to lay down for them to be ready to confidently succeed? So I put together a few different ways of teaching introducing timetables that are grounded in research, such that children have a solid grasp of the concepts behind times tables and multiplication itself. So one of those is using familiar objects or representations to demonstrate times tables. So here we have starfish, because they have 5 parts, and we also have bicycles because they have 2 wheels. So children will be familiar, I hope, with starfish and with bicycles. So then they'll be able to go, okay, I know 1 starfish represents 5, and then they can count or add in a repeat addition way to go 5 add 5 add 5 is 15, 3 multiplied by 5, 3 times 5, 3 lots of 5 is 15. Similarly, on the right here, we have 4 bicycles. So 2 wheels plus 2 wheels plus 2 wheels plus 2 wheels is 8 wheels, 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, 4 lots of 2, 4 times 2, 4 multiplied by 2 equals 8. Another really solid grounding way for children to learn times tables is using arrays. I'm sure we use them regularly, and you can either demonstrate them on a slide like this and have various different arrays of different questions popping up, or it's equally or even greater help to have children form these arrays themselves with counters or other equipment. Counters are one of the better pieces of equipment to do this. So the reason that it's so good using an array is that it gives a sense of scaling, because the larger the 2 factors are, the larger the array becomes, the larger the product becomes. So it gives them a sense of scaling, which ties back to the sort of spatial reasoning that should be very heavy in children's early number learning. And it's also really helpful in children seeing commutativity. Trying to think if I'm saying that right. But it means that children can then see that, okay, 3 times 6 is the same as 6 lots of 3. We've got 3 rows of 6, but we also have 6 columns of 3. And we could rotate the array and we would have the same result. And then that helps later on when children are using their times tables facts to perform division, because then they go, okay, 18, how many columns do I have? 6. How many are in each column? 3. So 18 divided by 6 is 3. So the array is one of the key representations for teaching times tables, because of these the scaling, the commutativity, the the ability to switch between division and multiplication also. Now, another way of showing an array is to use squares, like centimeter squares. And the reason this is a helpful way of doing it, to build on from using counters, is that it lays the groundwork for your perimeter and area learning later on. It's also a pretty universal and low cost resource. We should have 1 centimeter grid scrap paper all around the classroom in the scrap paper tray. So it's a way to have something that should be readily available to help children with this. And like I say, it helps with arrays similarly, because children could take these arrays that I've shown here, the one that's drawn on the right on the square paper, and they could turn the page, and then you have that commutative property illustration there as well. And it also helps with the division, the multiplication, and the scaling, the same sort of side benefits that we saw with the standard array on the last slide. Okay, so number lines are really helpful for teaching and conceptualizing times tables, particularly early on with your your 2s and your 5s to begin with. So it shows that all of the jumps are equal, which is very important for children to see when they're first learning about this. And it helps them understand better what we're doing when we're encouraging them to do the skip counting, the early times tables learning, particularly the chanting and counting through times tables that happens when we're first embarking on the 2s, the 5s, and then onto the 10s. Similarly, a number track or a number grid. So here I've used a number grid, but we could do similar here, but instead of using a number line, we could have a number track from 1 to 20. So here we've got the 100 number grid, and again here we have the 3 times table, and it shows that each of the jumps or the next step is equally distant from the next one. So there's each one is 3 squares on from the last, and children can see a pattern emerging in the grid as well, which really helps too. So bar models are fantastic to be used for teaching times tables, and particularly later on it helps when children are performing mixed calculations, or they're doing fractions of amounts and percentage of amounts and so on and so forth, to have bar models as a way into times tables as well, because you can do things like this. What does the bar model represent? So it's 8 lots of 3, which is 24. And then also we can then talk about how, okay, but it could be 3 lots of 8. So that too. Now, some of us may have seen this before, and if we haven't, it's a classic. So I'm going to turn this on and let it run for a little while.
So my challenge is to teach you the 17 times table in about 10 minutes. Okay, so if I'm doing the 17 times table, the first number I want here is 17. What's double 17? Okay, telling your partner? 34, absolutely right. Fantastic. What's double 34? 68. Am I going to put my 68 there? If not, tell your partner why it doesn't go there and where it should go. How about double 68? Slightly more difficult to double. Double the 60 and then double the 8. And 36. And I'm going to put it there. 4 times that. Can you think of a way I can get this number? Not very easy with doubling, but what could I do to get it? Tell your partner. Yeah, I think it's got to have something to do that. Am I right in thinking that if I add 17 to this one or subtract 17 to that one? Interestingly, it's easier to subtract 17 from 68 than it is to add on here. Okay, tell me what double 51 is. 102. That's a nice easy one, isn't it? And where's it going to go? Tell your partner. You can point. 17 more than 102? 119, yeah, another easy one. 3 ways of guessing the number in the middle. 3 different ways. Yeah. Okay, 17 more than this one, 17 fewer than this one, and halving 170, well done. Very fortunately, each way we do it, we always get to 85. One of the nice things about maths is that happens. Finally, I've got one here. I want 3 different ways of finding this one. I know the adding and the subtracting, but what's my 3rd way? What's my 3rd way? Can you see the number? That might help. We've got one there. What's the 3rd way?
3 times 51.
3 times 51, yes. If I treble 51, double it I get 102, treble it I get 153. My challenge now is for you to be able to say all these numbers within the next, I reckon, 6 or 7 minutes without the numbers being there. Shall we try saying them together to start with? Are we ready? Okay. 17, 34, 51, 68, 85, 102, 119, 136, 153, 170. Absolutely brilliant. Now then, the rules of the counting stick. It's a safe environment. You're with people that you know, people in your group. It's absolutely okay to say the wrong number. Now, we will all know if you go wrong because you will go, okay? But if you don't go like that, we won't even notice because we will be so intent on getting the numbers right. For the vast majority of you, you're going to be able to do this. For 1 or 2 of you, you will find that you can go for some of the numbers, but not all of them. That's okay. Join in with the ones that you can. Right? I know this is going to work, and it's going to work for 2 reasons. I am a fantastic teacher. That's the number 1 reason. The number 2 reason is that I've taught all of you, and you are fantastic trainees. All right, so we've got everything going for us. So believe you me, this is going to work. Do not look nervous, it will work. Right. Do we need the 0? No. And you know you're doing the 17 times table, don't you? So we don't need that either. That's 2 gone already. Do we know 170? Absolutely. And the times table I'm doing is 17. Double it is 34. And you know that. Okay. Tell me what times table we're doing. 17. And double it? 34. What goes at this end? 0. And at this end? 170. Fantastic. Are you ready? Big loud voices. 0, 17, 34, 51, 68, 85, 102, 119, 136, 153, 170. Absolutely brilliant. Tell me the times table. 17. Double it. 34. Double that. 68. Oh no, goodbye. Okay, what have I just taken off? 68. What's half of it? 34. Half of that? 70. What did I take off there? 68. And half of it? 34. Half of that? 70. Brilliant. Are you ready? 0, 17, 34, 51, 68, 85, 102, 119, 136, 153, 170. Wonderful. Now, this one is extremely important. It's so important that we call it the key. 51 is the key. Tell your partner what the key is. 51. Brilliant. Tell me the key. 51. What did I take off here? 68. And half of it? 34. Half of that? 70. Tell me the key again. 51. Wonderful. Are you ready? 17, 34, 51, 68, 85, 102, 119, 136, 153, 170. Tell me the key. 51.
Okay, I really love that video. I think it's one of the best training videos that we have available to us on YouTube for primary maths. I could watch it all day. There's plenty of examples of teachers using it with their classes on Twitter and using it for more conventional times tables. And further to that, in all of our times tables lessons for MathShed, I believe it on everyone, I've included slides that go through a very similar process to the one that Jill has used with her trainees there. So that will be available to people that have access to our slides if you want to use digital presentable version rather than a real one. But I really do like the real one with the Velcro stars on it and everything. Okay.
So my challenge is to teach you the 17.
Right. So further ideas to really delve deeper into times tables are to use investigations when children are feeling more confident in them. So here I provided different ideas. There could be more, there could be fewer than these if you don't want to use all of them. So 2 times table, all products of the 2 times table are odd numbers, true or false. The 3 times table has an odd number followed by an even number followed by an odd number. The pattern goes on, true or false. You can find 4 times a number by doubling what the equivalent product is multiplied by 2. Is that sometimes, always, or never true? Children will have to rely on their 2 times table and their 4 times table there to provide a reasoned response. 5 times table, all products of the 5 times table are even. Is that true or false? All products of the 9 times table have a digit total of 9. So you've got 9, you've got 18, 1 add 8 is 9, 27, 2 add 7 is 9, 36, 3 add 6 is 9, 45, 4 add 5 is 9, and so on and so forth. The only exception is if you get to 11 multiplied by 9, where the digit total is 18, which is itself a constituent part of the 9 times table. So if children can explain that there's an exception to the rule and why and how it is aligned to the rule, that would be a real bonus. All products of the 10 times table have a ones digit of 0, true or false. Okay, so we provide different ways for children to gain fluency and confidence in times tables on MathShed. So a key part of that is our fluency games, which we have times tables. We also have number bonds and the other 4 operations and powers of 10 and other things, but times tables is a key part of that. We have easy mode, where children are given 3 multiple choice options to respond. Medium, where they're given 6, and then hard, where they have a keyboard or number pad input to respond. So you can see there's 3 layers of difficulty there. And now I'm going to hand over to Karis, who's a far greater whiz on MathShed digital than myself.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. We've had some interesting questions, actually. Some people wondering where to find who can be exempt from the times table check. And I've put on the chat the guidance document that I've found that you would need to read and how you need to put next to each pupil. I assume and didn't see anything that would say that they would still be included in the whole school percentage, but that's something I would check, as I've just very quickly read it as Alex was talking. And then the other thing, Alex, which was a question that I got, someone was asking about when you do arrays with multiplication. To my understanding, there isn't a specific way of the multiply which should go vertically and horizontally as to which way I thought it was interchangeable. Would you agree?
Yeah, that is really what you're looking for.
Yeah.
As I would say, it's up to you if you as a teacher and you as a school wanted to have, you know, 4 lots of 7 being 4 rows of 7 to begin with, so that you have something solid and consistent, that's fine. However, I would say that really you want to be using it as an opportunity to very foundationally introduce the concept of the commutative property. So that is why I don't think you really want to stick with one. If for me in my classrooms, I would always have both, and it's interchangeable. Really, you want to get out of that 4 lots of 7 as soon as possible. So 4 lots of 7, 7 lots of 4, having the equal sign on either side of the number sentence, so that children have that procedural variation from, you know, year 1 onwards.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Yeah, that's
I'll dig into the chat and see if there's any further questions.
Have a look. I think I've answered all of them so far. But yeah, I will share my screen now and get on to our next bit. Okay, so using our MathShed simulator for practice. So the DFE do provide a practice area, but we also on MathShed have a practice area for the times table check, and it is available for free for non-subscribers. So if I click here, I'll just quickly show you what that looks like. And here it explains, as Alex already has, about how they need at maximum 6 seconds each, and then there will be a 3-second window between each question. So this is what it looks like. And there's your 3-second pause. And then if I don't answer it within that 6-second window, as you'll now see, it will then go straight onto the next one because I haven't been able to keep up. So that is available on here. I'll just quickly exit out of that. On MathShed, and you don't need to subscribe. If you would like to subscribe, we also offer free trials that end after 30 days. So you don't need to worry about cancelling it. You can have free trials just for a teacher, or you might have free trial for the whole school. It's completely up to you. We also do free trial for parent accounts as well. They are slightly shorter and last for 2 weeks. So within MathShed, we've got lots of different things that can help get children ready for this times table check and just building that foundation of times table knowledge in general. We have lots of different resources, which I'll show you in a moment. One of them being our lessons. Now, these are made up of quizzes as well as short teacher video clips. So these are really great to be able to use as intervention or consolidation if you're really trying to, pupils having trouble on a certain times table, or maybe you've got those pupils who Alex mentioned and need to below year 2 level and need to go back and really focus on those key areas. So what I'll do is I'll just show you one. We've got all of these listed here, and I'll make this available to you so that you can use the links within these. So if I click on a stage 3, in EdShed, the stages are the same as the year groups. We just call them stages so that if the pupil for any reason sees work that isn't allocated to them, that isn't the same as their year group, they are less aware. So here are our lessons. If I click on this one, this is what they look like from a teacher's point of view. And then if I click start, this is what it will look like from a pupil's point of view. And you can set this as work for pupils to complete on their logins. So I've, for obvious reasons, picked multiplication and division lessons. So they all have the same structure. So we start with the success criteria, and then we have a short video starter. So some of them are me or some of them are my colleagues, and we're both trained primary school teachers.
Today we're going to learn how to multiply by 3. For this starter, which one out of these 4 pictures is the odd one out? Think about what we are learning today.
So it goes through a quick starter, and then you'll go to your next level. So you can see that I can't click on anything here. I have to do it in order. And then we've got a teacher explainer video for activity 1.
Now I've made 2 towers with 3 cubes in each tower. How many cubes have I used to make the tower shown below? Here we've got 3 add 3, which equals 6, or we could say 2 times 3, 2 lots of 3, which also equals 6.
And then once they've watched that explainer video and practiced those a little bit, they then have the opportunity to use our quizzes to practice that skill.
One interjection there, Karis.
Yeah.
You notice the consistency in language usage between myself and Karis. And that's the sort of thing we were talking about earlier, where as long as things are consistent and justified, then that is good. And then hopefully we're using language that is consistent with that which is used in your school. So if you are using our lessons to supplement your learning, we're really helping you out. And now I'll go away.
That's all right. We also use lots of, as you could see as well, pictorial representations, which you might have concrete objects to support them within class. If you're using them for an intervention, so maybe they're sat with an adult in a small room, you could have concrete objects too. But we have lots of visual representations, as you can see, that are through all of our PowerPoints and questions. So they would then go and go through these, which would then practice that specific skill from the teacher explainer video. There we go. So you can also see at the top, so I've got a few right, that I get sort of like a winning streak. And you as the teacher, because you've assigned this work to them, you'll be able to see how they've got on as well and the percentage they've got correct. So there are quite a few of those from the different stages there. As I said before, we'll send this out so you've got those links. What I'll do now is go back to our MathShed site. I'll show you something called the Competence Grid, which is a really nice assessment grid that we've got within MathShed. And I'll also look at the other MathShed resources and assignments, which is what we call any work that you give to a pupil on MathShed. Right, just need to move all this out of the way. Okay. So this will, in a second, there we go, will take me to the Teacher Hub. So whichever subscription you have with us, the Teacher Hub always looks the same. And because this is my test account, I've got access to Spelling Shed. We also have Phonics Shed, which you can see up here, Literacy Shed, which I know lots of you might have already. And we also have something called Quiz Shed, which is free. And it's just a quiz making tool. So you can create quizzes and set them for your class to play. Now, if we go into resources and we'll specifically look at our MathShed ones. Here you can see our different stages. So we've got from reception going all the way to year 6. If I click on year 4, assuming there'll be lots of year 4 teachers watching today. And we'll go into autumn term. Now our PowerPoints here all follow the white rose scheme. So all of our blocks follow within that. And we also have end of block and end of term assessments, which also follow these. So if I go into multiplication and division, and I'll show you some of these. So with every single lesson, you have the lesson which I've shown you already, which is short video clips accompanied by some questions, which you can set for the pupils to answer on their logins. We also have question sets, which are just quizzes, which accompany the PowerPoints. I'll show you what these look like too. You can also generate these as worksheets if you've got pupils that don't have access to a device for any reason. For the younger pupils as well, there is the option for the question to be read aloud.
Balloons come in bags of 10 and bags of 12. Yasmin needs 120 balloons. Which of the following combination of bags could Yasmin buy?
And then,
select answers below. 12 bags of 12 balloons. 5 bags of 12 balloons and 6 bags of 10 balloons. 12 bags of 10 balloons. 6 bags of 12 balloons and 5 bags of 10 balloons. 10 bags of 10 balloons, and 10 bags of 12 balloons.
right, let's just click through these. So you can see that there are lots of different types of questions. So before we have multiple choice, this one you can click a few different options. We also have ones where you can drag and drop, sort them, match them, so they don't get boring. They still are fairly interesting and lend themselves really nicely to depending which skill that you're practicing, because we have these for all of our lessons, although I'm obviously showing you the multiplication and division ones today, as this is what we're focusing on. Right, okay, if I just go back. And then I'll just show you as well.
The MTC Simulator.
Yes, we do have our MTC Simulator. I did click on it very briefly earlier. I'll show you that we also can assign them to pupils, and as a pupil, what that would look like. So if I go to my assignments, so this is all the work that I've set for my pupils, depending on which subscriptions you've got. You can see I've assigned the MTC Simulator as a pupil there. So what I'll do is, if I just quickly log in as one of my test pupils, I can show you exactly what it looks like from a pupil's point of view. So this is what it looks like. You can see all the assignments that I've got. I've got access to all the subscriptions on here, which you can see. And if we click on the MTC Simulator, it will look like, as we looked at before, exactly the same. So I can just go through, obviously it's got the break in between it, and use that to practice. You can also see the quizzes which are assigned to me, which will look exactly like the ones, here we go, here's all the work that's assigned to me that we looked at just earlier. You can also assign other fluency tasks. So we've got things like number bonds. I know we've looked at times tables, adding and subtracting, and all of those. Now going on to the assessment part of MathShed, because once you've done that and the children are practicing everything, you want to know how they're getting on at their times tables. So if I go back in, we've got a few different ways that you can see this. So you can see this in the assignment section. So if they have been doing or done their assignment, and I click details, I can see Scary Spice is the one that we just played as, how many games that they've played, and their assignment status, which goes up and changes depending on how many points they've got, the percentage they've got correct so far, and then they get scores. They earn honey pots, which they can then buy things for their avatar, which is the currency within MathShed. If we look further at data, we can organize pupils within groups. You might have class groups, you might have times table groups. If we click on details and then click on a specific pupil, so if we go back to Scary Spice here, you can then have a look at their maths data and see how they're getting on. So depending on what they've played, so if we go to times tables and choose one that they've played, we can see here the average time per correct answer. So we can see here, unfortunately, Scary Spice has actually got slower at times tables, so she might need a bit of intervention. But here it comes up with a really nice graph that just plots when they played it and how they're getting on. Their average time per correct answer. So you can see lots more in-depth data in the pupils page. So total answers over time. So that's growing, which is good. And then we can also look at their gameplay history and exactly what they got right and wrong. So there are a few different ways. Now, the competence grid that we mentioned at the end of that presentation, you can find in the assessment section. And what this does is this is all the data from the quizzes that go with our maths PowerPoints. So the quiz is like the one that I just played earlier. Each one is tagged with a specific curriculum area. And then as the child answers quizzes on that curriculum area, it then feeds into this group. So this sort of populates over time. If we look at year 2, and then we're going to a particular section, whichever that is. And then you can see this is my test account. So it hasn't got lots and lots of data, unfortunately, for you to look at. But you can see that we've got the objectives at the top. And then we've got our competence score there, which is based on the most recent 5 gameplays on a quiz, which is tagged with this objective. And we just do that for consistency. You might set it as homework one time. You might set it as in-school work, and you don't know how much help that they might have had. So that just shows you there. And it's just a really nice way to be able to see any gaps, and just how the pupils are getting on, and they go color coded as well. So this pupil's doing okay, it's sort of amber greeny at the moment, but it will go to a solid green color once they have a really high competence level. Now we've had a look at our MTC Simulator and the Pupil Game screen, and we've also had a quick look at assignments. The final things that I'm just going to show you are just the extra resources that we have available. We have quick, not phonics, maths. We have quick math slides available from year 1 to year 6, and we have enough quick math slides, if we go to year 3, available for you to do one every single day for the whole academic year. So if we go to summer term, at the end of summer term down here, it's got quick maths all ready for the summer term. And these are really brilliant way to continue to practice multiplication and division and any other mental arithmetic that the pupils need to. Anything with this free buy it is available if you get a free trial. There we go. So you can see here that we've got summer term, week 1, day 1, and you can see here multiplication pops up for obvious reasons. We've also got the answers so that pupils can peer mark or self-mark their work, saving you a bit of a job there. Got division. So it's just another way to constantly recap those mental math skills, which become the foundation of everything, and particularly when we're looking at the check. We also have, for any people in year 2 or year 6 or have colleagues in those and need to know about them, we have SATs areas. So we have past paper style questions that you can assign them in the quizzes, the same way that I looked at earlier. In year 2 and year 6, we've got those, the different papers, and you can assign these quizzes to pupils, which are the same sort of questions. They're worded the same and they are taken from previous SATs papers. So that's another really good resource that we've got there for you to have a look at. But I would really recommend you taking out a free trial and having a really good click around our website as well. There are lots and lots of different resources. So I'm going to stop sharing there. And Alex, have we got any other questions that you think that we should mention on here, or I'm assuming it's all like answered in the chat?
Yeah, so a lot have been answered. So it's quite a common question that we get when we do these webinars is whether we're going to share a link afterwards. So what happens is tomorrow, Karis will upload this to our YouTube channel, and then you have an email list of all the emails for people who signed up for the webinar, and everyone will be emailed a link to this YouTube recording of this webinar, so you can watch it back or you can share with colleagues or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll also share, we'll save the PowerPoint as a PDF and we'll share that with you too, because I know lots of people want the links and things on there.
Yeah, and as always, if anyone has any questions that they can't think of now, feel free to email Karis and myself on the following email address: support@edgeshed.com. So it's support@edgeshed.com. That's how we can be contacted.
All right, hope it was useful, everyone. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll leave you to enjoy your evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.